Oh my gosh. So what is early extension? Early extension is one of those things you always see online, on Instagram, on YouTube of it's this major problem in someone's swing, but it's one of those things that I think is a little bit misunderstood. So let's define what early extension is. So early extension is when your body goes from being flexed like this to being extended. So your tail would be moving towards the ball, and generally speaking, your head would be working away from the ball. And the problem with that is a couple things. One is you're probably going to hit it very, very off center. Two, you're going to have a really hard time hitting the ground where you want. And then three, your body's not going to rotate very well. I'm on the fence on whether this is something that's physical, like people just can't keep their tail back. Is it setup based, or is it just something that's a learned pattern? Today, we're going to focus on it mainly from it's just a learned pattern, and it's something that we can get out of if we practice the right way. I can promise you this, if you just go to the driving range and try to stay flexed or try to work on your early extension, it will do very, very little good. So I have some drills that I want to walk through that are very, very successful for me, and I'll kind of show you how I set them up and then what you would do in those drills. So the first one is we're just going to take a normal alignment stick just like this. If you don't have an alignment stick, I would recommend getting one. You can see in all my videos I always have an alignment rod. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up like normal, okay? And I'm just going to set up to this ball, and I'm going to put this stick where it feels like it's resting on my tail like this, okay? From there, I'm going to stick this in the ground, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be applying pressure to the stick. You can see there I'm almost like pushing it backwards. I can move the ball if I need to. Again, this is just trying to create the feeling. This would be kinesthetic feedback. Kinesthetic feedback would be taking the thought that you have of fixing the early extension and then physically giving you something that you can feel throughout the swing. So most likely if I go at this swing full speed, I'm not going to do it well. So I'm going to start by just doing a very small half swing, and my goal is to keep this on as long as possible, and it may even look a little bit odd. Okay, so you can see I'm still on there. So my head is still flexed and my tail is still back, and I definitely hit that in the center of the face. So let's talk about center face contact. Why would someone hit this off center? So if I'm set up on this stick and I early extend like this, well, what's going to happen is my upper mass is going to pull, and you can see the club is working towards me. So what I see with a lot of people with their irons and wedges is that as they early extend, they can't reach the ball because they're physically taller, and then they start to toe it. Now with their driver, a lot of players will heel it because as the club is kind of coming from the inside like that, they'll definitely tend to heel the driver. But we're just talking more about the irons today. So what you should see if you have a lot of toe strikes is definitely more center strikes. So I'm setting up again. I'm going to try not to make such a divot because I don't want to move this. The problem with drills like this is they're kind of a pain to always move. I made a nice divot. You can see I stayed on the stick there pretty good. So as I'm doing a better job at being able to maintain my flex through the swing, I'm going to start adding a little bit of speed. So now I'm going to go full swing, but I'm not necessarily going to go full speed. Now obviously as I follow through to here, I'm eventually going to come off of it, but I can still feel like I'm trying to keep my tail as back as possible. So let's go, let's hit one. That feels good. Yeah, that was a really good strike. Yeah, and then as I'm comfortable with that, I would just add more speed and more speed and more speed. Okay, let's say that you're hitting on a mat and or you don't have an alignment stick. I'm gonna basically do the same thing with my golf bag, and it's gonna work almost the exact same way. I don't really need to show you, but I will. So I'm setting up here. I'm just gonna put this behind me relatively close, and you can see my driver head cover is in the same spot as where the stick was. Again, I can move the ball closer or further away if I need to. And again, I'm just trying to feel that right there. If I can feel that and stay flexed. See, I'm kind of correcting there. I don't think I necessarily came off. I think the driver head might have moved a little bit. Let's do one more. Now, there is a little bit with setup. So what I see with the mistake a lot of people make is when they want to get rid of their early extension, they'll start to set up with like more flex like this. But the problem with that is the more that you're flexed, you're likely just going to stand up more. So my general advice for someone when they're setting up is that they need to get a little bit closer and taller to the golf ball in general, because then your body doesn't have as much opportunity to back out or to early extend. So you can see when I'm setting up, I don't have a ton of flex. If you kind of look at my shoulders, it's generally in line with kind of the balls of my feet. I don't want to be somebody like this because I'm surely going to back out. Here we go. Yeah, I hit all of those really well. Now, there's one other thing that is very, very consistent with someone who does early extension, and that is how their trail foot works. So your trail foot would be your back foot. For me, that's a right-handed golfer. That's going to be my right foot. And the motion that I see a lot is as someone swings down, their right foot comes up like this, their tail will move forward, and as they're doing that, they're going to early extend. So a lot of times I feel like I'm having to tell someone to keep their right foot down, because that's likely going to keep their tail back. So actually one of my clients, a professional, showed me this drill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up, I'm going to take a range bucket, I'm going to put it underneath my foot like this, and this is going to help me keep this right foot down a little bit longer. Again, it's just an exaggeration. Yeah, you can see I had a hard time. I healed that, I was so flexed. And these drills are very, very good for exaggerating the movement. Let's do that again. Now this one's a little bit more difficult to do full speed, but it's really good to do at half speeds and 3/4 swings. So right foot, I'm trying to focus on that staying down with my tail back. Yeah, that's much, much better. You can see as my trail leg is still staying down. Let's do that one more time. You could also use a plastic bucket. This one's metal, but a plastic one would be just fine. I'm gonna try to go a little bit more full here. Setup feels good. Yeah, and you can see even as I hit that one, my tail is back, my foot is down, and I'm starting to come up, but not a ton. So if you have early extension, it may be something physical, but it could also be something that you've learned to do. So try these drills, see if it has any application. And at the end of the day, if you're doing these drills, you'll probably soften it a little bit. Is it okay if your tail moves a little bit? Sure. But as long as you're making solid contact, good ground contact, good ball flight, it's totally fine to have a little bit. But try these drill out, drop a comment, and if you haven't subscribed, I would appreciate it. And good luck next time at the range.